Ports. Let's see, Bash, Fish, Z Shell, Power Shell, Ion, Elvish, T Shell, Nushell, Zion Shell, Command. I don't know.
Looks like we're starting.
Ah.
Is that right, Ben?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It looks like this is going to be everybody tonight. But Eric, I'm glad that you stepped up and gave us a presentation on Nushell. You talked about it on Hack Greenville the other day, and I was like, "Hey, this sounds interesting." So Ben, he's going to be showing us Nushell, and I thought that he said it wouldn't be too much going with it, and I thought, well, maybe we could have some other people showing other shell stuff, but it looks like I'm the only one that stepped up to that. So I'll be showing a little bit of Bash that probably not everyone uses. A couple settings and stuff might be interesting, and I was hoping that maybe someone else would show other shells that I know people absolutely love Z shell and there's this other shell that I can't think of. This we were just discussing whenever we started, but even
is it Z shell or is it Zish? I've always heard it
Zish.
I've always heard Z Shell, but
Really?
I have heard or Z shell. I have heard Zish.
it's the official shell that Mac uses now
Mac,
because
yeah.
of licensing. They don't use Bash anymore. They
Right.
got rid of-
It's because of the BSD license, right, or something like that.
Yeah, it's more. Bash is new. So it's has
It's less strict, is what you mean.
Z Shell. Yep, yeah. The MIT license lets you do more.
So is it MIT, not
or
BSD?
whatever, or
Okay.
BSD lets you do more.
It's a company to hide stuff. Yeah. Right. Sorry. Anyway, all right. So Eric, I'll let you take it away,
Okay.
and I will stop sharing now.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, we got that. All right, so I even put together one or two slides here. It took me all 15 minutes. I don't expect too much. But Jay said, show off Z shell. And so I've only been using it for like a month, and obviously it's not what I do all the time. I'm mostly using it to launch commands, so I'm not that knowledgeable on it, but I figured I'd share what I kind of know. And when he asked me to share that, I was like, well, what can I say beyond what's on the homepage of Nushell? You can go there and see some usage of it, but I guess I got to thinking about like why are shells sort of still popular? Like right there, they're let's see. Like, why have they endured? Because they're like bad at discoverability. They have a high learning curve, and they're not aesthetically pleasing. So it's like, why? I mean, like, we don't use 90s GUI interfaces anymore. We don't use 80s GUI interfaces. We don't use GeoCities style websites anymore. Like, but the shell has endured nevertheless. And to me, there's probably a bunch of reasons why it's endured, but to me, interoperability between programs is the reason why. This is something from my actual, I use at work, all that's aliased. Obviously, this is expanded out, but basically I want to run tests on all files that I've changed. And so the fact that Git is one program and RSpec, the test runner, is another program, but that the two can work together, and with this simple little command line. Like, to me, GUIs can't do this. Web apps were supposed to be able to do this with APIs, but you need something like Zapier or something to connect everything. So, but shells can get different programs talking to each other. They, to me, they interop through just a few things. You got the standard in, standard out, standard error, arguments, and environment variables. This command I did here is just using really standard in, standard out, and I guess arguments with the xargs. So, basically getting these programs, connecting them with these kind of few interfaces and then a few utility methods, and we can do things that you just can't do with GUIs and web things. So the question is, then why Nushell? And I think this is like a list of a few formatting options on LS that I just copied and pasted. It's not even all of them. This is just a couple of the formatting options on LS. Here's some filtering options on LS. Just and has to have all these options, or they'll have like a format option where you guys specify a format string. And that, to me, it makes the shell even worse for usability. So Z shell attempts to solve that by kind of sending out structured data.
Z shell?
Sorry, the Nushell, yeah, tends to solve that by, let's see, we were talking about Z shell earlier.
Sorry.
Sending out structured data. So then other commands can operate on that data. And we do this to a limited extent. Like, go back to my thing here. The cut with the -W is looking for white space. The F is column 2. It's sort of extracting structured data out of unstructured data. But with Nushell,
Sorry.
we we don't have to do all those loops. So like, let's see. So like if we do LS here with standard bash, actually let's do LS to LA. So you get your standard kind of stuff here.
Wait, can you increase the scale?
Which, what do you mean, make it bigger?
Yeah, control.
Yeah. Control plus. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So LS LA, yeah, you can hardly see it, but and let's do make this one bigger. So if I do LS with, actually we can do that with the -L, makes it more columns, but let's just do it with the L, with the straight. So it looks just like a fancy version of LS, right? It's put in a table, but that's just the final output is that table. What you really get, and you can see it's auto completing things I tested with, but you can say, and notice it's like giving a red thing to say I haven't filled out where yet completely right. But so I can take this size column and I can say, well, I only want to see the ones that are greater than 4 kilobytes. So that filtered out the 5-byte one there, the test.txt there. And I can also say, okay, I want to sort by name, and it may have already been sorted by name. So let's do sort by modified, and so, or I can even say like, and this is where let me get a Nushell's website. My inexperience with it comes in here, yeah. But let's see. I think it's like after or something. Yeah, let's see if I can. Should have prepped this, but you can also. I don't have but you can say like like I can say just select the name and the size, and so I'm just getting those two columns. But I can also change the order of them. I can put size first. There's things you pipe to size first, because it's always you're seeing the final output, but each one of these pipes is actually getting structured data that it can operate on. And so to me, that's kind of the neat thing with Z shell, but Nushell. I'm not keep saying it.
I'm so sorry.
But it's the same thing regardless of what command. So we do PS, process list, but it's given this sort of supercharged data structure version of it. When it's way too much data because I've bumped up my font size. So we could just say, let's just select the PIDs and the name. So we can do it. And it's the same. We don't have formatting options for each program. Fundamentally, PS and LS are going to use the same formatting options, sorting options, filtering options, because we're not letting those programs even do the sorting. It's more like SQL, where you just say select this from this. Like imagine almost like the from is the program, and we're saying what we select and what our where is, but it's kind of in this pipe syntax.
So is PS and LS, are they rewritten for Nushell?
Yeah. So if we go to the website here, they'll have let's see. System probably. So like here's like a lot of your standard system programs, but they've been rewritten to be kind of supercharged. Gotcha. If you really need to run the core utils version, you can just prefix it with a caret thing, and now I've just run the regular LS versus the kind of supercharged LS. So that's sometimes useful because like move operates differently, and like move operates differently, and then in Bash, so I've like before done, the char MV versus MV. It's got good help things. So like, if I say like 4 divided by foo, it's those are invalid types, so it's giving you all sorts of information about, because it's not just like tables. It's got even within a table, like when I do ps select PID, these aren't strings that happen to be numbers. They're actually numbers. So like if I wanted to take one of them, let's say get let's just say get PID, I think it's 0. Yeah, so like that's the first PID, I guess. Should be. Let's scroll up here. Yeah, PID 1. And then again, I try to use it in a way that's not the right type. It recognizes a number can't be divided by a string. So it gives good error information as you're doing things. Like if you want to say a pipe to
well, no, that's not a division error. That's a column name error.
That find column / yeah, okay, yeah. I might be some sort of grouping there, but anyway.
Yeah.
But like I could say like where the name contains bash.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did you mean
Where?
Oh, wait, yeah, you need the where. See, it's helping you here. So you can search like within a string. There's different operators you can do besides just equal. You could say like a regular expression and stuff. So
that's a regular expression match.
Yeah. So like I could say ash, and so you got the trash there. So
That's awesome.
so and it's it's the same things with if I switch my command to ls, I probably won't have anything that matches, but it's just, I get to use all those commands after the exact same way, regardless of what regardless of what the program that kind of started the data. So to me, it more fulfills the Unix idea of little commands that do one thing good. This where command is just used for filtering, and then there's a sort by command, and there's a so there's a whole bunch of commands for manipulating strings or doing various things like your string, where you can capitalize stuff or downcase stuff or that type of thing. Get the length of a string, all sorts of operations, but each command is really little because it knows it's operating on data. Let's see. So yeah, that's where the PS is using the same thing. So it's really the same thing as regular shells. It's just instead of byte streams, we have structured data. But we don't. It doesn't mean we got rid of, like, so if I say, come in, let me go to a develop just an app here. So get status. So this is an external command, so it's going back to the byte stream, and so like I could use it in the same way I'd use bash if I'm working with an external command. It's only the internal commands that do that. But if I want to sort of start supercharging my my external commands, I can let's jump ahead. I can do that too. So like I can say get status -s, and then I can say this detect columns. So it was able to, that detect columns command kind of uses those heuristics similar to cut to then turn it into a table. It doesn't give it the -n option there, assumes basically the first row is column name, which isn't right. So you ended up with a column name of gem file, which was a file. By doing the n, I get column 0 to column 1, which is better because now it's not using my data as columns, but even more as I can rename those columns, and now I get the status and file, and so then I can start saying things like where status is m to get the something on there. I'm not sure what. Oh wait, yeah. double equals. So now I got all the modified files. And you could do this with the cut and kind of regular expressions and trying to munge with the byte stream with shells. This is just easier because now you've given everything like a column name. Let's see. Other thing, I don't have really an example of it, but shells are good to interact with files. So is this, if it has this sort of magic command called open that can open anything. So open here, I'd give it a CSV file, and a CSV file is just a table. And so we can use all those same commands to do it, but it can also read JSON files and INI files and SQLite databases. And and even if it doesn't support it natively, you can, through plugins, extensions, add other file types that it doesn't support. That kind of helps you not only work with output of programs, but you can work with output of data with it too, using all these same things. So I mentioned the better error. There's just some notes of other things I'm not really covering because I said short.
Yeah.
But there's better errors and help than I think in typical shell programs. It's got this concept of hooks where you can like run a bit of code like before a command or after you can install, and so that's something plugins can hook into to help you out. It's something called data frames I haven't looked into, but like I said, data is typed. It might be a string, it might be a number, it might be a list, or it might be a table. But there's another one called data frames, which something I got to look into. But there's other things out there, I guess. And then it's got plugins that you can do to kind of add functionality that's for your specific work environment. Like if you're working with a particular language, maybe it's going to already have things for it, or like it can do like the auto completion of things like Git or whatever, stuff like that through plugins. So
Interesting.
there's a ton more out there about Nushell,
Yeah.
but those are sort of just going to the web page, you can see how it has some of that same stuff. Here's where it's grabbing, it's got an HTTP command, and so it grabs a file that I think is like a JSON file, and then it's grabbing the license information out of that. It can work on any OS, Mac, Linux, whatever. I will say that Linux, it sort of encourages you towards using Brew, which isn't typical. It's more for Mac, but it does work on Linux. But like I didn't install it that way. If you go into their installation, they give you information on how to install it a little bit better. Where there's a bunch of depending on your operating system, there are packages like for Arch and stuff. Weirdly, there's not one for Ubuntu. But ultimately, if you put Rust on there, then it ultimately comes down to using this cargo install new, and then after that you can get it on there. So
it's written in Rust.
Yeah, it's written in Rust, and it interacts with all sorts of like like this. I'm just using straight new, but like I like my work computer. So I use Starship, which is like a shell prompt that kind of gives you some more information about your current directory, like what branch you're on and that type of thing. Or here you've added a little Rust file, and so it tells you what version of Rust you're using. And Nushell can integrate with all those type of things. Let's see. I had a list here somewhere, but all the different, not the OMA Z shell, but the Posh one, or other ones too. So that's kind of, they got pretty good documentation. Like there's a quick tour that kind of goes through some of the similar stuff to what I showed, probably a little bit more, some info about the help. So that's useful to look at. It's got like cookbook recipes for doing certain things, like how to, I use that to detect columns, which works pretty well, but sometimes you'll be working with data that from external commands, it's a little bit different. And so it's got like a parse where you can give it like a pattern to find things and stuff. So you can get into better parsing to kind of create structured data out of the byte stream. So anyway, that's kind of Z-Shell.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's Nushell.
Why does it have to improve perfection, Eric? Was it perfectly old?
It was perfectly. So anybody got any questions? Anyone online have questions? Yes.
So, are any of the external programs starting to recognize Nushell and maybe put like a flag or something that you could, put in there where it structures the data so you don't have to do as much razzle dazzle to get internal and external commands talking to each other?
Yeah, so I think that's really where the plugins comes in handy. I think what you would do is,
So not the actual, those
yeah, not the,
projects themselves aren't recognizing it. Somebody's just writing something in between the two.
yeah, exactly. And so you can install different plugins. Try to figure out where somewhere
Do
here
you
they have.
think that eventually these external projects would be like, well, or is that just sort of like break some paradigm? Like you don't put a flag in there for some specific thing. I mean, I could see it being like table-wise, like dash tab or something like that becoming a popular thing. It's like, oh, you want the output of this command to be like in a structured format instead of some random ass shit.
Yeah,
or like just some tab. I guess
fundamentally, it's not the
tab
program so much that would do it. It's like I said, it's on. I think it's more you would wrap things. And that's something I want to look into more because there are things like I'll give you an example here. So let me make this at least kill off the bash one.
As I say,
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So Rails routes, so this is Rails's routing thing, and see how it prints very ugly wrapping and all that stuff. To me, this is a perfect thing for where I end up having to grep through here to find it. This is a basic app with just a few routes, but I have other apps will work that has hundreds of routes, and so trying to find what you need. And so if I could say things like, okay, well, show me the routes, but where the verb matches this and the URI is this, that would be nice. Like I said, fundamentally, you pipe it to the parse and give it like a parse string. And so I think what would be nice is if the community, like the Rails community itself, said, well, here's the plugin you would add to kind of supercharge all your Rails commands.
What was the other command that did that?
We can't use columns or something.
Yeah, there's detect columns. It kind of works. It doesn't work great. So
The first line, it had columns on it. Yeah, it worked fine.
Well, it kind of works. So if you look at how this says URI pattern is one column, and so it ends up detecting that as if you look here, then it says, okay, there's URI. Actually, let me take this down just a little bit so I can show here. So URI gets one thing, and it's still out there too. That on a bigger screen, you'd see there's another another column called patterns. Yeah, and so it's not really parsing it right, but with the parse command is where you would gives you more control. The detect columns is sort of heuristics.
But the prefix it did left justified as opposed to the way it was actually outputted, which was right justified.
So
that's interesting. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the default is it's
middle justified, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's right justified, and so it's extracting the data based on spaces. It's close, but not quite right. And so I think that would be where I think it would be nice if the community created one person essentially could write the parse commands for that and wrap it up in a plugin, and everyone else could just install the plugin and use it. Yeah. And for whatever technology you're using, that's something I hadn't really investigated a lot. Is how do I make all these? How do I do? I mean, I can make an alias so that way I can do get status, and then that would run the get status pipe to detect columns. But it would be nicer if I could just say get status, and by default that came back as structured data because I have the get plugin installed or something.
I know it feels cruddy to expect all these external apps to adopt some convention. It's not like we don't have any sort of conventions, and not that the units are followed. I generally know that if I type -v, I'm going to get a version number or something. It doesn't mean it's consistent.
Verbose, you mean?
Oh, yeah, or verbose.
Yeah. But I'm just saying,
yeah,
in a sort of future world of Linux, could be all right, we're not going to set up a bunch of conventions, but could we at least have some convention about you want to output something in a structured format, and what are the ones that we universally use now, like JSON, XML, CSV, or tab based or whatever. I know that feels like terrible. Do you see that any down on the road, Linux itself would ever be like, oh, this is a good idea. Like maybe we'll encourage people to, for this small subset of flags or whatever, like things, the output will actually, you can either by default get it structured or like we have these set of flags that if you use these, you're going to get the format that you want.
Yeah,
Do you see that ever happening, or is it like the plugin?
I mean, this is all new, and so I think, you're fighting against decades of how things are done, and
Wait,
so
you said there's like the Git plugin. Does that exist? Or
so there is a Git plugin, but it's mostly based around completions. So like auto completing Git, which is nice, but like I want it to go further. I want it to output structured data for all the different commands.
so these like plugins that you're talking about don't exist generally for this stuff. That
so-
like would structure it for you.
Yeah, that's something I need to look into exactly. Trying to find where.
So I think the PowerShell is like wanting to do that,
Mhm.
as in like make it more structured by default. I
Yeah.
don't know if they've done that. I haven't kept up. They might have.
Obviously, there's no way to force that, but there are conventions that exist, and there are counterexamples, as you mentioned, but it's not like there's none. It's not like,
right.
Like people are like, I will use -E instead of, I will refuse to use -V for version.
Okay, yeah. So there's this awesome new that has a bunch of the plugins listed here for different things. So these extended some, but I don't like. Here's the Git one, but it's like I said, see, it's around completions, which is kind of cool. I mean, like you can basically, all these different options you can complete on. That they
But
have.
it doesn't wrap the output into
But yeah,
structured
it
data.
doesn't wrap the output. But they do have other things too here for like reading other types of files. I haven't really looked too much into it, but that's what I'm agree with you. I would love it if I could just say all like common tools like Git and even developer specific tools, make that data.
Basically, what they just did was standardize this common set of core tools. Like maybe eventually this grabs on, and it's like, okay, if the core tools use certain conventions, then maybe other external tools will be like, and that's a convention in the tools. Why the hell would we do it different? Like you could do it different, but it's like maybe be in everybody's interest to follow some sort of patterns, conventions, we'll say. I mean, not like, there's a lot of things where there are conventions like that. There's a lot of things that we deviate, but I guess if you're going to start there doing it in the Linux core, whatever you want to call that set of internal things would be where you start, and then everybody would be like, look at that. That's a convention I will follow.
Yeah, no, I would look like I said, I've just been playing with this for a little bit, mostly just running things. Now, I will say, one other thing I will say with this is it's not POSIX compliant. So, like, if you start typing like echo foo writes to bar dot that's not going to work because in this that's a greater than sign for filtering. It's actually the way you'd want it. I think there's like an out where you can do like that or something. I don't remember, or you can also pipe it to like, I think there's like a save file or something. And then it has an append option or something if you want to, add it to a file.
I also want to ask about like subshelling too.
I could just run bash if I wanted, from within there. And now I'm back on bash. So, or if something has the shebang with, user bin bash, that would run fine. Those scripts would run fine.
Yeah, but like subshelling for like.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So like if I wanted to say like, you typically do like ls-la which new. Like I want to find out where like that doesn't work because, but I can do this and expected string found table. Right. What's that? What is which new term? Oh, okay. So I'll do get path 0. Actually, I can just do get path. Okay, so parentheses are like the backtick, but I'm not very good at this, as you can see here.
List.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
So it executed the which, to find that give me back that table of various info more than just, thing. But then I, grabbed the bit I wanted, the path on that first line of the table. And then that's a subshell that's given to LS to then list, the size and the modified and all that.
How much influence would you say database manipulation in SQL and the SQL language, for example, has influenced this shell? Because it sure seems like it's SQL.
Yeah, I mean, so in a lot of the examples that I gave involved that, because I feel like that's what you would do a lot of times, filtering, sorting, that type of thing. Yeah. But there's a lot of other, like I said, if you go to the commands list, there's a lot of other things you can do besides that. You can, get network information and you can do a lot of other manipulation of the data.
But again, it's as a table.
Yeah.
Filtering on columns and rows.
So it's not just, if you go to the book and you go to the types of data. So we got our standard types of languages, integers, all that stuff. But there's there's lists, there's records, there's tables. So tables are really just a list of records. And so there's more than just tables. There's also lists, and you can also have an individual record. And like I said, there's also this datagram type too that's not a table, but it's something similar that I haven't really looked into down here under the not so advanced section. And I don't really understand it completely, but it's also related. It says something about it's relating to the columnar format of Apache Arrow. I think it's dealing with large files. So anyway. But yeah, I mean, I like the fact that I can basically treat PS and LS like it's a select statement,
Yeah.
or pipe that to something to then do something, pipe it to another program to do something. I mean, ultimately, I could do all that with, my command.
Well, it seems like with Nushell, you could finally parse LS output.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, that's what I'm saying is there's these gazillion options for trying to get it the format you want, or Git, I know, tends to have like a format string. You can give it, a lot of programs have a format string that, this way it's just a standard ability to format, across programs.
Interesting.
Reminds me slightly, because of the table thing, I use CSV kit, take actual CSVs that I get from my business and like slice them up and query on and stuff. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of like that, but it's, you can write, you can pipe stuff to CSV kit and like put in basically SQL, like literally SQL, and like query on a CSV file. So it's like that, but it's like they have their own little shortcut commands, but it doesn't have to be a CSV. It can be whatever the hell.
Yeah, it can be JSON, YAML, Excel, SQLite, more.
I would assume with something like CSV kit, you could on a regular shell just type in whatever, as long as it recognizes, you can define columns and tell it how to interpret that. This is just basically doing the interpretation for you. So, the output's already structured the way you probably want to work with it. Whereas if you were doing that from some random ass CSV file, you got to like tell the whole CSV kit, what are the columns, and it's a lot more verbose to do that, but it does similar-ish stuff. But most of it's focused on CSVs.
Yeah, so this here's this is the list of official things supported out of the box, and of course, like I said, you can actually add other things too. That's what some of the plugins I think were, is to add other data things. But so you can read from a VCF, little card, what is called, the little, grab someone's name out of it, or yeah.
But if I wanted to do what I'm doing now, would I just do like cats, the CSV file name, and then pipe that to
cat would work with that, would do a normal byte stream. That open command is what opens it and turns it into data.
So I could do what I'm doing now by just doing open the CSV file name, type it to Nushell, and then start doing all the filtering and querying and stuff.
Yeah.
But it looked a little bit, I mean, I assume it's probably less precise than SQL because SQL's so mature. So it's like, being able to group by and all that stuff, but even if it has that, it's like, at probably some point, seems like it's focusing on trying to get a quick way to do a lot of this stuff, not the SQL per se way to do it.
Right.
But I'm just curious if I could replace some of what I'm doing with CSV kit with something like this, and then actually shorten commands and make my life a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could. Also, just want to note, it is a goes to some weird spot in the if statement, and like comparison operators are like dash eq. It's all antiquated. It feels like these are a little bit more, I guess, modern of a language. Being typed, and trying to figure out where the stuff
Won't be
about.
long. You could just talk to a computer and it'll do it for you, Eric.
So they are all typed. Everything. It's not a dynamically typed language. It's a strongly strict type.
No, you don't declare the type, but it does have a type. It says dynamically typed, but it is strongly typed. So that's why you couldn't divide a string by a number. But that allows you to do things like say, give me all files that are greater than side or after this date, because it knows what a date is versus with traditional shells, it's all just byte strings. And so, if you want to figure out how to greater than this date, use it as another switch on the program. This way, you don't need a switch. You just pipe it to a program that, filters.
Now, I got a question for you. Is this what they call the AI? And can I say, are you going to make me money on the crypto?
Any questions online?
No. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
It looked like there's a quote thing there. Is there a cow say? It's very important.
Cal says very important too.
I thought that the point about interoperability is one that probably crossed my mind of like, why do we still use it? But I never really dug down that rabbit hole. It's like a very simple answer.
Yeah.
You basically have APIs and all this shit.
Yeah.
Whereas all these other interfaces don't. This is actually something made. It's like a very simple explanation. Why is this still exist?
Yeah. I mean, there's
and I use it. Like I most of the programs I've written, I been a PHP developer. Most of the shit I've written for my business uses shell commands because I'm just like, I don't have to set anything up. I can just go and it runs.
Yeah, well, this is the idea of like you could pull from SQLite databases super easily and just like I'm assuming write to a SQLite database really easily. It's like
or anything I damn see it. You can write the whatever the hell you want.
Really,
that's why I've avoided.
It's kind of scary.
Like I know how to do all this other stuff, and I know it's like I don't know. I just don't want the machinery when there's a simpler, interoperable command line thing. I can just.
You mentioned it was a programming language, so if I write a script and I do a shebang, what's the conventional extension?
.nu.
.nu. Okay.
Yeah. So if you go to this programming in new section, that's where it has information about like the programming language. I think itself.
I mean, if nothing else, this would be great for a scripting language.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I didn't use it on my day-to-day shell. Wow.
Yeah, so it's got like if else statements, all that stuff too.
Wow.
You can kind of dig through it and see if it's. I'm still just getting my head around it too.
Cool.
And like I said, I mostly just use it to launch things, so I don't. It's not like I spend all day trying to figure out how new works, but Nushell works. But
Fantastic. Anything else?
well, that's all from me.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, too much on that. Let's see. I'll stop sharing.
And Ben, you had a question?
Oh no, it was just great presentation. I was looking for
Oh, that was a thumbs up or
reaction.
a clap or something?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was a raise a hand. Yeah.
Yeah, you need this. one for the
I
clap.
accidentally. Yeah. There you
Oh,
go.
that's. I got you.
Oh, there's a Giphy I can do.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
No.
Yeah, God.
Oh, there you are.
There we go. All right, finally. My goodness.
All right, so let me. All right, I'm going to share my screen now, and I will go over to this. Share that. Okay, can you see my command or my Vim bin?
Yes, I got
Okay.
you.
All right, so I'm showing the room here, the actual command line, so that you'll have to monitor the stream. So I'm really glad, Eric, that you brought up the shell thing, this new shell called Nushell. But to fill the time, I thought I would just show a couple things that I use on Bash every day that I'm not sure if everyone knows about. I thought I'd just share. It's something that a couple things that I just use that I just love. The first one here is the set option to set VI to be your command line editor, and by that, what I mean is that so normally Bash comes from GNU, and Emacs comes from GNU. So to edit commands on the command line is you have to know your Emacs control character stuff, and I don't know that stuff. And a couple years ago, I was talking about that, how to edit the command line. Something like that, and then there's all these control characters and then blah blah blah. But you can also do like the home. I think nope, that's the wrong key. But ways to move around that's really easy in Emacs that I'm sure about. Like for example, one that I use is Control W to delete a whole word at a time instead of just a backspace. But someone else pointed out to me, you can do that with VI, the set VI, where you can edit on the command line as though it were a VI command. So and the way you do that, so let's say I make a mistake here, and normally I would just arrow over and do the backspace or whatever. But whenever I got the set VI option on, I can hit escape. I'm now in VI mode, or I'm in normal mode for VI.
Command mode, yeah.
And I can do B for back, X, E to end, and X again. And so now what I've done is edit using VI commands and hit enter, and that's changed it. And I tell you what, I just love this. Another thing that I use this for is unlike regular VI, you are always in insert mode when you start. So when you launch VI, you're normally in normal mode, and then you have to go into insert mode. But that doesn't make sense on the command line. You have to be in insert mode. So it starts out in insert mode, which makes a lot of sense. But let's say you want to do something that's really complex on the command line. So I'm just going to up arrow. And one other thing that's really great about VI mode is that you can hit escape to insert the VI normal mode on the command line, and then hit V, and it will launch that command in VI or editor or visual, whatever you have assigned to those variables. So now I can go in here and use a regular VI, delete the word, and then whenever I do my right quit, it executes that. I don't know if that makes sense, but I tell you, for things like big lists of data. So let me see. If I wanted to just copy and paste that, and I say I hit escape and then V, I'm in insert mode, or I'm in VI now, and hit A, and I'll just paste what I just had there. then I can go back up here and just do my manipulations of whatever. I don't know if I'm making sense, so I'm going to undo what I just did, but I'll just do a. Not sure what I'm saying here, but oh, and I've got controls on. I'll not run that command, but I don't know if that's making sense. But I use this all the time to launch into VI some huge command that I want to manipulate. All right, so that's the first one. The second one I've got here is the hist time format environment variable. Anyone familiar with that? No? Okay, so you know about history, right?
Yes.
If let me do a simple shell. No, let's not do that. Yeah, so if I do history, let's see, I've got another user. No, I don't have another user. Okay. No, that didn't work. Anyway, so what this variable hist time format does is normally when you look at your history, all it does is it shows you the commands that were run in your history, right? And it gives you the number of that command. With this variable here, history time format, you can add a format to the timestamp that was run. And here I've got, I don't know what control or %F and %T is, but it's the date and the time that I ran that command. As opposed to, let me temporarily just do a nothing for that. And then something like this. And if I do a history, well, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to export that. So I've got something in my history now. I do a history command. That's what you normally see if you don't have hist time format set. So you've got the command number and the history number, and then what you ran at that history. But you add the hist time format, and I'll put that right here. Right, and I'll just show the last couple. And you see the difference between this history command and, now is the and history versus these four. You got the timestamps that were added. So I ran this, a couple minutes ago, and a couple seconds later, I ran each one. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but the thing what happens then is not only, so it's got a timestamp that's been added, but that also gets added to the history file itself. In this form as a comment. You can see here that whenever it's saved to the bash history file, then it added this comment, which is probably the epoch, the number of seconds since January 1st, 1970. And then the formatting of that gets here. But your normal history command will not put these comments in unless you are using this environment variable. So, all right, next thing. A little more. Are y'all familiar with bang $?
Yep.
Nope. Okay, so going back to history stuff, you're familiar with bang bang, right? Rerun the last command,
Okay.
which was maybe
Didn't know
not.
that one either.
Yeah. So bang bang is rerun the last command that I just ran. So you see here, it just did a tail of bash history, which was this.
Mhm.
It's sort of superseded or replaced by the up arrow.
Say again.
But it's sort of like replaced. I just hit the up arrow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I use up
Right.
enter.
So history is multiple things. It's the up arrow, which is what I'm doing here. There's bang bang, which is just the last one. You see that I've got the numbers at the beginning here, so I can do a bang on 10:30. Let me go back to that, and that will run the 10:30th command here. Right? It echoed is, and then that's the output of echo is. Right? So you are familiar with that? No, didn't know that. Okay, so another thing that history does, Control R, does a reverse search in the
Yeah, do that
history
one.
of
That's very
his
useful.
time. I just did HI, right? And wherever thing it came across, which was this one, it just reran it. That's the Control R. That's to search through your history.
I no longer have to grab my history file.
You
Yeah,
can,
yeah,
you-
sort of, yeah.
to
Control
see
R
what
is
it
a
was.
big-
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So but you might want to do that. So if you do a history and then grep for time, right?
I've been like a caveman over here.
So like, so now I can do
Now you can bang one of those numbers.
10:15, right? And then maybe you want to echo bang 10:15. And what that does is it echo the time is now woof or sh, right? Which doesn't make sense in this particular example, but you may find that useful. And in fact, I do. So going back to what I was talking about, I assumed y'all already knew all that stuff, but here, now you know it. The other one that I use all the time is $, or the bang $, which is, if I do this, bang $, is the last element of the previous command. So in this case, it was the last command was echo the time is now woof or sh, right? It substituted bang $, for SSH, right? And then it echoed SSH.
So what do you?
What do you
Use that
use
for?
that for?
Yeah.
Let me give you an excellent example for that. Sudo apt update. And I think I forget. Okay, so that did my sudo apt update, right? It's downloading. Maybe I should have done this before I started.
It'll be done in a second.
Yeah. And then what's the next command you do? Sudo apt upgrade, right? No, I'm sorry. I'm skipping ahead to the next one. What was it that I just typed? $, or bang $? Update. What's the last command? So sometimes you want to reorder what you put in there, and then you can put bang $, and then retype your last, or something like that.
Yeah.
But so my next item up for bid is in the history is the caret command, and this is where I actually want to do the sudo apt update. The caret command is a find and replace of the previous command. Caret dat with grad. What does that do?
No way.
Uh,
A little dangerous, but
let me show you. Okay. So what it did was it substituted the word it substituted the dat in update to upgrade to the grad.
Huh.
It replaced the dat in update with grad in upgrade. So I use this particular one all the time. I do a sudo apt update, caret dat, caret grad, and then I've got sudo apt upgrade, and I'm not going to do it upgrade. No.
You know, install.
Yeah, I don't want to take this. I need to do an upgrade. It looks like
300 meg of upgrades.
So that's what that is, and then it puts it in the history correctly, right? So it substituted it on the command line, but then it placed it in the history as that, and I'll show that like this, right? So it replaced it in the history, and that's another setting that I've got for my history stuff. So this is all cool stuff. Oh, and
See that? Let me use the last one being useful when you had a file name that's really long and you want to like
Exactly.
reference the same file name.
yes,
So that's
exactly.
doing that shit. You got to copy the whole thing or you tab it all.
Yeah.
So that's the caret command for history. Now PS4. Y'all know what PS1 is, right?
What's your prompt?
It's the prompt, right? You know what PS2 is.
that
That is your. So for me, I'm going to show you what PS1 is. No, it's capital PS1, and that is this prompt right here. All right, so it's this is a color command. Another color command \h is my host name, which is Crystal. So the first bit here says brown. H is host name Crystal, and then this is let's say it's yellow, bold, and then I got a square bracket \t, which is the time in square brackets, which is the yellow part right here, and then I've got bold blue, right, which is this sequence of characters, and then paren $? You're familiar with $? Right? $? is the return code of the previous command. Yeah, use it for scripting a lot. So if I run the true command and I echo $? What was the result of true? True is 0, which is true. If I run the false command, you see it changed here. False command, if I echo $? The result of false is 1, which is false, which is non-zero, which is false. So I put that in my prompt here, and that's the blue. Anyway, so that's what PS1 is. I'm going to show what PS2 is, and that is a simple greater than sign, and that is continuation. So if I do a cat of quote, or no, wait, let's do a 2 by EOF. Shoot, not character, and hello world, how are you? All right, and then I do EOF for a here document. This is the prompt PS2. It's used in other places, like you got a quote. Now is the time, and there you see the greater than symbol because I haven't done an end quote. That's what PS2 is. PS3 is for errors, I think. What is it by default? I don't set any of these. These are the two. Yeah, I don't have anything. But PS4, I've got set to this, which is, what I said. And this, normally it's not set to anything, but this is for when you run when you're debugging a shell script and you say bash-x on that. Do I have a shell script? I should have had shell scripts. What's the shell script that I might have?
That's right.
So here's a shell script called, it's not got enough lines. Something interesting. What else have I got here? What was it you said? Less pipe? Okay, so less pipe's a little bit interesting. If I do a, actually, let me set PS4 to nothing, which it is by default, and then I do a bash -x, which is debug on less pipe. This tells you each command that gets run in the shell script, right? The first command is the setting of temp dir, config dir. Then it does a base name command. Then it checks if it's 1, if it's 2, if it's 0. It turned out to be 0, so it went into that part of the if part. It did a dir name, blah, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying, right? But if I have PS4 to be that big monstrosity that I have, instead of simply telling you the command and its output, this will give you the file name, the line number, and then if it's the number of pluses is how many shells to get executed inside. So this configure, so base name is called within another. So if I do a head on less pipe .sh, so less pipe is a function within less pipe. So the function less pipe was called within here somewhere. And I should have had a little more simple program to show. What about a vimdiv? Yeah, all right. So it ran the command, and inside the my shell program on line 5, it ran the command gvim with all my settings, blah, 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 and then that's what this is. That's the output of it. Anyway, I find it extremely useful when debugging bash scripts in particular, to have line numbers, file names, how many levels deep I'm into, calling other programs or other functions within the shell script. That's PS4. The final one, I'm not going to show that one. That's not as interesting.
Well, now you're just teasing.
All right, so there's a shell option called globstar, which I don't really use, but I've set it. And you know how when you're doing like a grep on on a lot of files, and you want to do subdirectories, everything with a SH extension or something like that. That's not right. I want to do. I want to look for the word hello in all my shell scripts. Well, instead of having to go in here and say *** in all my shell scripts, and then I want to look in everything in those subdirectories, and then I want to look in everything in those subdirectories. It's a little annoying to have to do that for every single time. If you have globstar, then all you need is ***, and that is every subdirectory.
Yeah, I think Z-Shell does that by default.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. A lot of others like C-Shell have adopted that by default.
Yeah,
but it's a non-default option in Bash, and so that is that. Those are my little helps. You learned a lot more about history than anything else, apparently.
well, that's good because
But I use history a lot.
History.
Yeah, that was cool. I need to brush up for sure because I didn't know a lot of that. I guess what I use, I don't use the Vim. The Vim mode is super cool.
Yeah.
I should try that. I just use Control Backspace to delete words in normal mode.
Control backspace.
And that's like delete, but
Is that a full word
yeah, it's a
backspace?
full word, but like I could just use Vim mode now apparently.
Yeah.
Like
Something that bothers me that I'm certain is an easier way. If you say you like ls and then you tab out like a really long path. So go ahead and do that.
Okay.
well, Okay, I should say like Control A will go to the beginning. Control E is like end, right? So it'll go to the end.
Right. And that,
That's the
if,
Emacs.
if I were an Emacs person, I would know that, but I don't know that. But
Oh,
so,
okay.
so
those are
control what was that?
A.
Control A for the beginning
Yeah.
and control E for the end.
Yeah.
A is beginning. E is end. E is a mnemonic for end.
Home and in, right?
At some point,
Mnemonics don't really work.
well, they just
Well,
ran out of
Well, so
characters.
what I also do, so with the Control backspace, that's like a word. With Control left and right, that's moving one word at a time, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So just holding, if you want to do something, holding down Control will make it faster.
Interesting. So you were, what were you about to ask, Ellis? Of
Yeah, just like tab out like some deep directory.
oh, I don't know if I have a deep directory.
I guess it does work. How is it? There's some situation where like I'll like have this long directory or file name thing, and I thought that like using arrow or control arrow left right didn't jump. I don't know how it was now. I'm sorry. I know you can. I mean, home and end. Wait, home and end work. Is this something? Maybe it's just because I'm using a default shell. Like something where I usually want to use like control arrow left right, and some circumstances where you have this long like, file name or directory name, and like that doesn't work.
All right, so I'm although I've still got the setting VI mode, so I'm going to just try in what I'm calling insert mode. And you said control left arrow.
Yeah.
It goes, okay, that's good to know.
Moves by word.
That goes by word.
Yeah,
Left and right arrow.
And if you do control backspace, it deletes by word.
Control backspace.
Well, I think you're.
Control backspace does a single.
That-
But again, I'm in VI mode.
Yeah,
Well,
This is working in the shell and now, but I feel like
Control W
some other shell doesn't.
rubs out the whole word.
Maybe. I find that like I can't even like tell you some of the like shortcuts I use. I just use them,
You just use
and then I'm like, what do I actually? And every now and then I get confused in my head. I'm like, wait, what do I press to do that basic? I'd have to go look it up.
Anybody using a clipboard manager in their GUI? Because I didn't really feel like I had a ton of need for that over the development world, but I do so much copying and pasting and like just copying tracking numbers and invoice numbers and all this shit. And like, you know, I can just I use copy queue and I can see, you know, like however many, 1,000 things that I wanted. And there's all sorts of like, tricks and shit you can do in there. You can run commands. I don't know.
Yeah, I know they existed. I've never
without
used
it.
them.
But
Mhm.
when I was at Orange, I remember something like this came out years ago, and it was in Windows, and you could like just hit the Windows key and start typing shit, and it would do some magic. But I don't think as much as a clipboard manager.
I think Clipboard Manager's in Windows now. For default.
Is it? I mean, I do so much of this stuff that a few years ago I was like, God, I needed to get that value I copied like 10 things ago, and it's made like enormous difference in my life. I even use it now, like I'll copy a tracking number and then I'll hit like Control Shift X or Control Shift U, and it'll put together the like post office tracking number, and then it's like open in the browser. There's also, and I actually replaced that.
Green for some reason.
Yeah.
I replaced that with, now I just copy the tracking number, and because copy queue allows me to pull shit off that, I hit like Windows key TR, and then I run this like track alias, and it pulls it off this thing and opens it in a browser for me. So I just like, there's like so many repetitive ass things that I never had to do years ago. Like as a developer, you're copying and pasting stuff, but it's not like the same thing every day. You're having like, I need to look this up.
All right, so let me.
This is Linux stuff.
Yeah,
it's like a little neat, tricky.
So I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions for anything that I presented online. Andy, Ben, probably not, but and y'all.
That was good. Thank you, Jace.
You got questions, right? You had answered, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, anybody got anything else?
Any other shell tricks?
Ben, you got shell tricks? Andy?
No, but now I'm interested in comparing PowerShell to Nushell. Only because my current work is Windows oriented, so I'm using a lot of PowerShell, and it's getting used to the object oriented nature of it. It's
Yeah.
it's
I-
actually pretty slick once you are able to embrace it.
Really.
But I haven't tried using it on Linux because I know there's a open source core version of it for Linux, so I don't know how different it might be or what. But there's lots of things you can do with PowerShell that you couldn't do with normal command stuff on Windows, and it's so much nicer. It harkens back to being able to do stuff in Bash.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it.
It's nice to be able to now wrap it in a script, right?
Yeah. But no, I unfortunately I was having to multitask, so I was listening intently, but mowing the lawn, so I didn't get to see anyone's examples. But I actually think I probably paid better attention. So I'm interested in the prompts now. Whenever I get back to having a shell.
Oh, and the website was newshell.sh. I think, did you have it on the slides?
I don't think I had it on the slides, but yeah,
Okay.
newshell.sh.
Yeah, newshell.sh is the fancy website.
With documentation and download instructions and such.
Yeah.
New
There's
shell.
pretty decent documentation. They have like a little book. They have the commands, and then they have cookbook.
It did look really good. I mean, what you showed us was, yeah. Okay.
Hey, Jace, what does a PS stand for?
PS?
Yeah.
PowerShell.
Prompt something probably.
Which PS are you referring to?
PS1, PS2.
Oh,
Prompt string. I
This is
bet.
on the test. This is on the test.
you know, I don't even know, to be honest.
I bet it's prompt string.
Prompt string, maybe?
But it's like free statement.
Prefix.
Let me see.
Prefix. Shell.
Can you Google that for me?
Oh,
I'm gonna-
okay. I thought you knew, Ben. And you're about
Yeah,
to
you're quizzing
drop
us.
it on us.
I didn't know, so I asked the question.
You can ask ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, you get all kinds of crazy answers when you do that.
Oh, there's a PS0, by the way. I forgot about that one.
Interesting. Oh, prompt string.
Prompt string.
That's
Yeah,
what I said.
it is what you
Yeah.
said. I don't. Yeah, it doesn't really specifically say that on the man page.
That says the secondary.
But
That makes
I
sense.
say
I mean,
prompt, yeah, primary prompt string.
I think it's
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
I see
secondary
it.
prompt string. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Prompt string.
Sure, they're adding.
okay, all right, good. All the mysteries of life are solved in one Linux meeting.
Created that PlayStation 0.
Well, now it's been preempted by PowerShell, right? It's a .ps